What's up, guys? So this video is going to be an update about the riots and the protests that have been going on. So to me, it feels like this is turning more into a socio-economic problem than it is actually a systemic racism problem. And the reason I say that is I'm seeing more and more posts and graffiti, on videos and stuff, and people saying like kill capitalism and like, eat the rich. And reality is, when you come from a socioeconomic, disadvantage coupled with race into it, it kind of melts into the same. It's one of the same. And another point of the thing is I guess the protesters successfully succeeded in defunding at least LAPD from what I've known so far. And I'm going to start there. That blows my mind. You got to understand, man, it's easy if you come from privilege and you come from an area where there's no crime or very, very little crime for you to say, why do we need police? Defund the police. Look at what they're doing. It's totally different when you come from an area that is extremely crime driven and you already have a lack of police presence there. And then for you to say, okay, we're gonna go ahead and cut the police presence, you're only hurting those people in that community and denying them access to resources or protection that they need. So in my personal opinion, it's just going to give an opening for more criminal activity to open up, more gangs to step up in the community and police their own community than actual police. And that comes with its own set of problems. But we'll see how it plays out. Because you got to remember, in the world, there's, if you cause something to happen, there's going to be an effect. That's like, those are just the rules of the world, right? So if that to me is not the answer. There's plenty of other ways to be able to check police officers and make sure that they're doing the right thing. And if they're not doing the right thing, then they need to be ousted. No one's saying protect the police no matter what. That's ridiculous. If they're abusing power and they're doing something dead wrong and they're hurting their citizens, they need to be fired and criminally charged. But defunding the police is probably not the best idea to go about that. Now, one of the things is I haven't seen anyone come forward and say, hey, this is what we want, from these riots, from this protest, from this, right? There's no real, we're just angry and that's it. Well, coming from a law enforcement background and just kind of seeing the criminal justice system and the way it works, this is something I do feel passionately about. I do have a problem with, and I've always said this to my friends personally. I have a problem with people, with society in general, all of us, and myself included, that we don't really give felons a second chance. And if one thing could come out of all this and the people whose businesses got hurt and everything that happened, if they could have changed at least this one thing, then I would say all of this is, sorry, I cut off there, but I'll say all this would be 100% worth it if we could change one thing, and that's forgiving felonies after their crimes are done. So let's take an example. If you're 18 years old and you stole a car and you knew stealing a car was wrong, but you did it for whatever reason, man. We all make stupid, dumb mistakes, and that one mistake should not define you for the rest of your life, especially if you get out and you're trying to do right. And we're all, as a society, is to blame for that. We say, okay, you stole a car, we're going to give you 3 years in jail, 4 years in jail, whatever the circumstances, whatever. You come out of jail, and now we say, hey, welcome back to our society, blah, 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 give them a pat on the back. But at the same time, we slap a sticker on their back that everybody sees, that sticker, no matter what shirt they wear, that says felon. We lock them out of public service jobs. We lock them out of all kinds of jobs that they will never have access to. So reality is, do we ever really let them back into society? No, we don't. We always see that person as a felon. We always treat them as second class. And what does that force them to do? That locks out their opportunities. And then that forces them to go back in and usually go back to the life of crime, because that's the only way they know how to live. That's the only way they know how to eat. It's just kind of like, screw it. Why even try? Why should I even be a part of your society again when you're not going to fully let me back in? At that point in time, you're probably better off taking that person and just killing them or leaving them locked up forever, because they're truly never, ever free again. You want to talk about a violation of constitutional rights? You're stopping that person from enjoying, their life to the fullest. You're stopping that person from their pursuit of happiness and freedom. Because on one side, you're saying, okay, you did this crime and you have been forgiven by society because you have been rehabilitated and you gave up this amount of your time and of your life. But yet when we let them back in, we really don't let them really back in. Because that person can never be a cop again. That person can't be a firefighter. That person can't go be a paramedic. You know what I mean? Probably not even a lawyer. I mean, I haven't looked into it, but I'm pretty sure if you're a felon, you can't be a lawyer. There's a lot of things that we leave them out. Now, I'm not saying for all crimes and every crimes. Like, obviously, sorry, if you're a freaking child molester for the rest of your life, you should be X'd out. Matter of fact, you should probably serve 1,000,000 years in jail. You know, that's unforgivable. You know, murder, I mean, that's one of those, you know, we have to still talk about what's acceptable, what's not. But if you stole a car, if you got in a bar fight and then you really hurt the person bad, or, you know, if you sold drugs when you were 18 years old and you had so much, you know, drugs on you, and you were 18 or 20 years old and now you're 30, you're probably not that same person, man. You probably learned a lot. You messed up in life, man. And those are the type of guys that, and gals possibly, that we should be able to give a second chance to, and we don't. And so if we're fighting for that, if that's what we're fighting for, if that's what could come out of this, then I'm 100% for this, because I've felt that for a very long time. I think that they get the short end of the stick. And because those people, when they get caught up, they don't have access to the nicest lawyers, so they can't plead their way down from a felony to a misdemeanor, and the misdemeanor kind of like drops off and it's really not viewed as bad. That's something I could get behind 110%. Now, for socioeconomic reasons, it's not a lie. It's not a myth or a fact. It's the truth is we have never really let African Americans in to our money system. And this started all the way back when Civil War, and we were supposed to give all along Florida's East Coast there, down the ways, we were supposed to give them 40 acres and a mule. That never came to fruition. You know, and there has been a huge pattern of systemic racism. There's no denying that. I mean, you know, the minimum wage was created to protect the white way of living, because this is how Hispanic Americans or Hispanics come over now and outbid some of the lower jobs from the regular Americans. That's what the African Americans were doing to the white people, you know, back in the day. So they created the minimum wage. So if a business owner, it came down to hiring a white man and hiring a black man, and you had to pay them the same wage, well, then you were most likely to hire the white man instead. And of course, you had redlining and you know, making sure that African Americans only stayed on one side of neighborhoods and not the other. So there's no doubt that this existed. There's no doubt that stuff like that needs to get rid of, especially the redlining, right? But you know, one thing that I would say is this is for all people now, all minorities, Hispanic, whites, and everybody, Asians. If you don't feel that you're having a fair shot of creating something, if you don't feel that you have a chance at anything, you don't feel pride in yourself or anything, then of course you're going to say burn the system down. And me as a capitalist, that's the last thing that I want. Me as a capitalist, I want to be able to sell more goods, more products, more services to everybody. So I would want everyone to be affluent. I don't want nobody on welfare. I want everyone to have $1,000, you know, disposable income a month in their pocket, so they could go out and they could buy and they could spend, and that makes everyone's lives better. It makes everyone more productive. But yet sometimes I feel like we miss that picture, you know. And one of the things that I think we could do very easily, and this is another thing that I would probably advocate for, is I think in the long run, this would probably be most beneficial, not just economically, but as a societal benefit. It would be a one-time, if you are under the poverty line, nothing to do with your race, nothing to do with your gender. You can be whatever gender you want. You can be whatever race you want. But if you're making less than $40,000 a year and you're the age of, I don't know, we could discuss this. It could be 18 to 30 or 18 and above or whatever. But if you're making less than $40K a year, then you get a special grant from the government that allows you to buy a home at a 50-year fixed mortgage at 3.5%, which will allow every single person to buy a little piece of America and have a home ownership. That will allow them to build equity into something. That will allow them to tap into it 10, 20 years down the road to start their own business, to get them a start in life, to be able to refinance and send their kids to college, to be able to do what every other American that's, you know, middle class and above is being able to do. We would put them a part of the system versus locking them out. And this could be very easily achieved because you would have the Federal Reserve and the Treasury just print these bonds out, right, at 3.5%, which is still way above what we're printing bonds at now. You would put them and you would use the major banks and institutions as lenders out, and then they would sell those bonds, and then you could package those and sell them back to the Fed. So it wouldn't hurt anybody economically, right? So basically, if, you know, 100 people wanted to get a loan and there were the first time home buyers, okay, there's a max. We're not going to let you go buy a, like, you know, $2 million home, whatever, but you're still having to pay it back. So this is not a handout. This is not like we're giving it to you for free. This is, hey, we're giving you a chance, right? So a 50-year fixed on like a $300,000 home, I mean, at 3.5%, you're probably looking at like a $600 or $700 payment a month, which is super affordable for any person. Now, you might have to move. If you're living in LA, you're not going to probably find a house in LA that's still affordable because they're like $500,000 and above. You might have to move to the middle of America, to another spot in America, but you will get a chance to own your own home. You'll have pride and ownership in your home. You'll be building equity in your home, and you'll be able to use some of that equity later on down the road, maybe to start your business, maybe to go ahead and put your kids to college, or maybe use that for God knows whatever else that you want. But you're getting a chance. You feel as an American citizen, you have a chance. You have pride. You have ownership. You're working your way up. You're less likely to commit crime because you have something to lose. Because now if you go commit a crime, you do something crazy, you go, whatever the heck it is, now they could come after your home. Now you become a part of this society. I think that that would be one of the best moves that we can make. So these are just my thoughts and opinions on a couple of the changes that we can make. So to wrap it up, I would definitely say is get rid of the felony stuff. Not crazy felony, but like, the felonies that are borderlining, or felonies that where somebody has served enough time to let them back into society, and fully let them back into society. Don't hold that against us. Stop holding that against them. And definitely let's focus on some housing reform, which allows people to buy their first homes with government support. And like I said, that's not a handout. That's not welfare. They're still going to have to pay it back. They're still paying interest on it. It just gives them a chance to become a part of society, and it starts you off afresh, and it gives you an opportunity to have pride, have ownership, and like I said, just become more and help you lift yourself out of poverty, because even though you're paying rent, you're building something that's yours, and you have access to capital that you probably didn't have before. So these are some of the things I could 100% get before, but I don't see anyone talking about this. I just think that this whole thing right now is just chaos, and there needs to be a funnel direction. There needs to be someone that says, this is what we want, this is what we want to vote on, because eventually this has to come to an end. And I would hate for see all this come to an end and nothing comes out of it. We just go back to his business as usual. And no, defunding the police is not a victory. That is a loss. That is a loss for your community that really needs it. There needs to be a win for all peoples overall. So, like I said, these are just my thoughts and opinions. And if this could happen, then I would say this was for good. But if nothing happens out of this, then this was just a travesty, and it sucked that a lot of people lost their businesses, and a lot of people along the way are going to end up losing their lives, and more lives are going to be lost. So, hey, thanks for listening, and maybe I hope I opened your mind up to something.